Okay, good morning, everyone. It is 10:30, and I'm going to hand over to Corporal Scott Evans to start today's interview.
So, bore da, diolch am ymuno ni am y cyfweliad dwyieith arbennig. Hwyl fel rhan gystadleuaeth gwobr arweinwyr y peirwynydd cynradd. Bob blwyddyn, dyn ni'n gofynnych y cwestiynau syml i chi. Os oedd yn beiriannydd, beth fyddech chi'n ei wneud? Yna, edrychwch ar y byd o'ch gympas. Dewch o hyd i'r atebion i problemau rydych chi'n ei gweld a meddwl am syniadau ysbrydoledig. Rai ohonynt yn symud ymlaen i fod yn protestidiau am wneud gan brifysgolion, fel ein partner yng Nghymru Prifysgol Metropolitan Caerdydd. Gyda cymorth o'r RAF, rydym wedi gallu sicrhau bod popeth ar gael yn Cymraeg yn ogystal â Saesneg am y tro cyntaf eleni. Drwy cefnogaeth hefyd, rydym wedi gallu trefnu cyfweliad y bore yma. Bydda fi, Corporal Scott Evans a Wing Commander Gavin Wedlake yn dangos sut yr rhoedd peiriannig wedi mynd â ni i'r RAF. Y bore yma, byddwn yn rannu ei straeon gyda chi yn ogystal ag ateb y cwestiynau rydych wedi hanfon i mewn. Bydda fi yn cyflwyno ac yn ateb yn Cymraeg, gyda Wing Commander Wedlake yn rhannu ei stori yn Saesneg. Yna, byddwn ni yn ateb eu cwestiynau. Unwaith eto, gyda fi yn ateb yn Cymraeg a Gavin yn Saesneg. Felly, heb ragor, byddaf yn rhannu fy stori.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this special dual language interview as part of Primary Engineers Leaders Award competition. Every year, we ask you this simple question. If you were an engineer, what would you do? You then look at the world around you and find the solutions to the problems you see and come up with some inspirational ideas, some of which progress on to become prototypes made by universities like our partner in Wales, Cardiff Metropolitan University. With support from the RAF, we've been able to make everything available in Welsh as well as English for the first time this year. It's also through their support that we've been able to organise this morning's interview. Today, we're joined by Corporal Scott Evans and Wing Commander Gavin Wedlake, whose engineering careers have taken them into the RAF. This morning, they will share their stories as well as answering the questions that you've sent us in. Scott will be presenting and answering in Welsh, with Gavin sharing his story in English. They'll both answer the same questions, again with Scott answering in Welsh and Gavin answering in English. So without further ado, I will now hand over to Scott to share his story.
Hi, David. Just 2 seconds. We're just having a couple of issues here. Would we possibly be able to go over to Wing Commander Wedlake first? Is that possible?
We can do. Are you okay to start, Gavin?
Yes, I am. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So good morning. Good morning to you all. And it is an absolute privilege to be here, to be talking to you, to talk about my engineering story. So first and foremost, Gavin Wedlake, as said, I'm a wing commander in the Royal Air Force. I'm an engineering officer in what we now call the cyberspace profession. And I've been in the Air Force for 20 years, and I have had been involved with loads of different types of engineering. And hopefully over the next few minutes, I'll be able to sort of share my story with you at school to sort of show how what I think I have been able to do as an engineer to help people and make a difference, and hopefully be able to overcome some of the challenges we've faced in our daily life. So a bit about me. So I joined the Royal Air Force in 2000 after going to university in Wales, down in Treforest, what was then University of Glamorgan. And it was a wonderful experience learning about engineering and learning about what a difference engineering could make in the world. I studied electrical electronic engineering, which is quite a broad I suppose, scope of engineering, and I learned everything from how the power we generate in power stations around the country is then delivered to our homes and factories to be able to make things work. I learnt about communications, so how we use the cables in the ground to provide internet and telephone lines into our houses. Very important, certainly as we come out of the back of COVID. My son will say the most important thing that delivers is Netflix and Disney Plus. I can't really argue, but those are the sorts of things that that sort of technology delivers. We also did about the wireless communications. So we learnt about how radio transmissions work. We learnt about how ships, aeroplanes, spacecraft all are utilized to provide radio communications. And I suppose finally, the thing which I took great pride in being at university doing was my project, which at the time I didn't really think much about. But my project was a project modeling very, very technical title, wideband mobile communication techniques. But I subsequently found out 5 years later that my project played a very, very, very small part in delivering what we now call Wi-Fi. So how Wi-Fi, how we sort of use the internet at home. And that was all the studies that we did at universities in the 90s and what other engineers around the world did as a collaborative effort, then helped deliver what we take for granted now. Everybody assumes that you walk into a house, you walk into a shopping center, you walk into a restaurant, you have Wi-Fi. 20 years ago, that wasn't the case, and you had to physically plug your computer into your telephone line if you wanted to use the internet. So that's already within the very short space of 20 years, we've seen how some parts of engineering can really sort of make a difference to people's lives. And certainly as we've coming out of the COVID pandemic and all the restrictions we've had in Wales and in wider United Kingdom, things such as Wi-Fi, things such as the internet and the power of communications has helped us stay connected with our loved ones, helped us be able to go to work, and just really sort of help us go about our daily lives. And that's one thing I'm very proud of being a cyberspace, an engineering officer with a cyberspace, working in the cyberspace profession as an engineering officer, where I feel like I've been able to make a difference within the Royal Air Force and with the Ministry of Defence. So a very that's my introduction. What do I do now? So I'm currently at MOD St Athan as the station commander, and St Athan has got a long history of engineering within Wales and within the United Kingdom and the Royal Air Force. Today it is home of what we refer to as Number 4 School of Technical Training, and it's a school where young people come and join, where after they've joined the Air Force, what we call young aviators, they do their basic training and they come to St Athan to learn to be ground engineering technicians. And we take them on a course for over a year, and they graduate from our school as electricians, as mechanics, and as workshop technicians. And they learn loads of skills, from learning how to fix cars, learning how to set up electrical wiring systems, and learning how to make things out of sheet metal. And that's what we do now. My role is more of a headmaster as opposed to a teacher, but it's all part of delivering that engineering sort of presence within the Air Force. And I am truly honoured to be in the job, because I feel it's gone full circle. I've done my time as an engineer, resolving problems, and now it's helping sort of inspire and help produce the next generation of engineers and technicians within the Royal Air Force. So for me, today is about talking to yourselves at school and about sort of what made it special for me and where does my journey start. Well, I suppose like all good people with engineering, inventors, future mathematicians, my history started with Lego. And I asked my son this morning if I could borrow some of his Lego sets to sort of act as a prop. So I want to introduce you to a little friend. I hope you can see it. It's a little Lego robot. Why is this one so significant? This was the first Lego Technic set I brought my son. He was 5. I was on an overseas trip to America with the Royal Air Force, and I brought it and we sat down together, and he said, right, so what do you do, Daddy? I said, well, I'm an engineer. He goes, what do engineers do? I said, well, it's a little bit about fixing things, but it's also a bit about understanding how things work. And then when you add them together, it's a little bit about how you can make things better. So we built this lovely little robot, And he then started asking questions, saying, well, why doesn't it have normal wheels? Why does it have caterpillar tracks? So I said, well, that allows the robot to go over different types of terrain. If we just have wheels, we can only go over roads or certain surfaces. If you have caterpillar tracks, you can go over lots of different surfaces. And he said, well, why did somebody come up with the idea of caterpillar tracks? Well, because somebody was given a problem. So somebody was given a problem, they wanted to transport over really boggy terrain or really rough surfaces, and wheels just wouldn't be able to do that. So somebody using an engineering background, an engineering mind, came up with a way to solve the problem, and that solution was caterpillar tracks. And that's one, that was his first example of understanding how, I get it. If you understand about the technical disciplines, about the engineering, you can overcome a problem. And that was, to me, a really lovely sort of moment we had, because then you could see in his mind how he was understanding how engineering works and what engineering can do. And in my role in the Air Force, I've had lots of challenges to do, and I'm going to share with you a very quick story of how I've used engineering to help do things and help people out. And so I'm going to go backwards to a long time ago, 2004, in fact. And it was I was a very young flight lieutenant, so a junior officer, as we would say. And I was part of the what we call the Tactical Communications Wing, which, if you think of it, is now part of 90 Signals Unit. It's a wonderful organization where you have very gifted and very talented technicians and engineers and cyberspace professionals who are given the challenge to go to anywhere in the world and set up communications links so that we can enable our aircraft when they fly across the world to deliver humanitarian aid, to support operations, to support reconnaissance and missions, maritime missions. We can go anywhere in the world and we can use our equipment to set up communications links. But that's only part of the story, because we have equipment a bit like Lego. So if you think of sort of my son's little robot there, that's just bits of blocks all built together to come up with a solution to a problem. And what we would do on 90 Signals Unit on TCW, we'd take all our equipment and we put it together in such a way which would solve the problem of delivering communications to all the other Air Force and MOD personnel who are deployed, to be able to communicate with operational headquarters back in the UK, but more importantly, be able to communicate with each other, communicate back home with their loved ones, provide those absolute priority communication links, and also be able to allow them to stream television programs, because when we go away, we need a bit of downtime and we need to sort of have that relax and recuperation. So we set up these links. So anywhere in the world, we could be streaming Netflix, we could be streaming sports programs, we could be doing live chats with our friends. And that's the power of what we can do with engineering in the sort of communications environment, is taking down those land barriers to enable us to be able to talk to our loved ones, whether or not we are just down the road by telephone or halfway around the world by a combination of satellites and undersea cables. So that's just a little bit about me and a little bit about my story. And hopefully that's shared with you all a way in which engineering can help, and engineering can help solve loads of problems out there. So thank you ever so much. I'm going to come to a close now, and hopefully Scott is ready to go. I have really enjoyed presenting. I hope you've enjoyed, and I look forward to hearing some questions. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Just eisiau. Der yma. So, croeso pawb, rwy'n Corporal Scott Evans, a dwi'n beiriannydd trydanol yn yr RAF. Heddiw byddaf yn siarad i chi ychydig am fy taith i fod yn beiriannydd, a sut y gall beiriannydd fod yn llawer mwy na gyrfa. Byddaf yn rhannu profiadau i gyda chi a rôl dwi'n gwneud yn fy swyddi o dydd i dydd. So, tipyn bach amdano i. Dechreuais fy addysg yn Ysgol Cymraeg Bro yn Pen y Bont, cyn symud i Ysgol Gyfun Llanhari. Yn ystod fy cyfnod yn yr ysgol, dechreuai dod yn ymwybodol am beth oedd peirianneg, a chyrmys diddordeb yn y ffordd y mae pethau'n gweithio a sut mae pethau'n cael eu gwneud. Ar ôl gadael ysgol, dechreuais mywyd fel oedolyn yn gweithio i Adidas, yn bennaf ar benwythnos i ennill chydig o arian, herwydd roedd i eisiau prynu car ar y pryd. Fel dwi'n meddwl bod chi'n mynd i bod pan chi'n gadael ysgol. So ar ôl chydig blynyddoedd yn y byd go iawn, dechreuais weithio yn Asda, gan all yn benderfynu ble roeddwn ni fynd beth roeddwn ni eisiau gweld wneud fel gyrfa. Ar y pwynt hyn, penderfynais wneud rhywbeth roedd yn meddwl byddai fi fwynhau. Yna penderfynais i ymuno â RAF yn 12 oed a ddechrau fy taith yn beiriannydd. So fy hyfforddiant fi, dechreuais fy hyfforddiant yn RAF Holton yn mis Awst 2013, oedd yn 10 wythnos o hyd. Am y dysgais hanffodion bod yn y lleoedd arfog. Roedd hyn i gyd yn rhywbeth newydd i fi mynd o ysgol y tipyn bach mas yn gweithio cyn wneud hyn. So ar ôl Holton, yna symudais i MOD St Athan, sydd tua 5 milltir mas o maes awr Caerdydd, jyst tu allan y Llantfed Fawr, i ddechrau fy hyfforddiant peiriannol. Roedd hon yn flwyddyn a hanner o dysgu fasnach o fod yn beiriannydd trydanol, gan dechrau ar y pethau sylfaenol a symud i fyny at dyllau mwy datblygu a ganfod difogion sut i defnyddio offer yn iawn a sut i darllen diagramau peirianneg yn iawn. Graddiais o St Athan yn mis Mawrth 2015 i ddechrau fy taith fel peiriannydd. So fy taith peiriannydd i, dechreuais fy taith peirianneg yn RAF Wittering. Yno gweithiais ar ymrywlaeth o offer gan gynnwys peiriannydd tân, offer gwradu bom, adeiladu awyryndau dros dro, ond y bennaf darparais trydan i gegenau mae'n sgwadroni wedi sefydlu. Nawr, nhw'n sefydlu cegenau hyn dros y byd ac roedd yn golygu llawer o deithio, fel ti'n gallu gweld. Cyfaill weithio gyda llawer o pobl newydd o pob cefndir peirianneg ac o wahanol wledydd o gwmpas y byd. During yr amser hon, treulais 6 mis yn Dubai, gweithio gyda nifer o wahanol awyrennau a hofrenyddion, gweithio mosod a chynnal gwahanol fathau o gynnyrchwyr yn dibynnu ar pa awyrennau yr oedd angen i ni darparu ar y cyfer. Wnaeth i hefyd yn gweithio ar gerbydau a genhelydd yr oedd ei angen i dynnu'r awyrennau a cherbydau yr oedd ei angen i llwytho cargo a teithwyr i'r awyrennau. Roedd hyn yn cynnwys gweithio yn agos gyda pheirianwyr awyrennau, dysgu sgiliau newydd a datblygu sgiliau cyfathrebu. Roedd boeth iawn yn Dubai, yna felly roedd gweithio tu allan yn anodd weithiau, ond a bob amser y canolbwynt bydd diogelwch, oherwydd gall gweithio yn y gwres neu i chi colli canolbwyntio. Felly roedd yn bob amser yn gwneud yn siŵr yn bod yn yfed digon o dŵr. Ar ôl Dubai, symudais i RAF Honington yn gweithio gyda chynhyrchwyr llai a system synhwyro biolegol yr RAF sydd nawr wedi mynd ymlaen i'r army. Gellir sefydlu hyn unrhyw le yn y byd eto, a byddai'n sugno yn yr awyr trwy beiriannau bach, a byddai'n cymryd samplau i weld os oedd unrhyw ronyddau cas yn yr awyr I ceisio cadw pobl yn saff a diogel. Roedd hefyd wedi gweithio yn ynysoedd y Falklands, gweithio gyda jetiau cyflym. Roedd yr offer roedd yn gweithio yn hollol newydd I fi. Dydw I ddim wedi gweithio arnyn nhw mewn unrhyw le arall cyn y Falklands. Ond oedd yn hollol wahanol I Dubai. Oedd Dubai yn boeth a mae'n real oer yn y Falklands, felly bach o roedd angen I ni bod yn diogel ond trwy cadw'n warm instead. Rwy'n naw'n gweithio yn Cyprus yn y heilog, yn gweithio gyda peiriannau radar. Yn anffodus, allai ddim siarad gormod am beth dwi'n neud ar hyn o bryd, ond dwi'n gallu dweud mae'n cyffrous iawn. Rwy'n dysgu sgiliau newydd trwy'r amser sy'n rhan fawr o beirianneg. Rydych chi bob amser yn dysgu rhywbeth newydd sydd yn wneud y rôl mor cyffrous. So, cyfleoedd teithio, dwi wedi cael llawer o cyfleoedd I teithio. Rwy wedi dweud wrth chi dwi wedi bod I Dubai a Falklands yn barod, ond yn y swydd fi'n lwcus iawn, dwi wedi fynd I Ffrainc, yr Almaen, Gwlad Pwyl, Dubai, ynysoedd y Falklands, Albania, Cyprus, dim ond I enwi ychydig o leoedd. Mae'n swydd cyffrous iawn yn cyrraedd â phobl newydd trwy'r amser ac yn cael digon o cyfleoedd I tynnu lluniau mewn mannau cwl. So, y casgliad, wedi bod yn lwcus iawn yn ystod fy cyrfa fel peiriannydd. Gobeithio gallwn weld bod yn peiriannydd yn hwyl gan eich bod pob amser yn dysgu rhywbeth newydd ac yn datblygu sgiliau yn cyrraedd â pobl newydd ac mewn rhai achosion yn cael y cyfle I teithio draws y byd. Yn bennaf, mae'n ymwneud â mwynhau. Mwynhau beth ti'n wneud oherwydd eich bod chi'n gweld hyn yn diddoriol, sef y brif bwynt o'r hoffwn I wneud. Mae'r byd yn lle mawr ac mae bod y beiriannydd wedi agor cymaint o drysau I fi yn y gorffennol a bydd yn parhau I wneud yn y dyfodol. Byddwch yn diogel pob amser pan fyddwch yn gwneud unrhyw beth sy'n ymwneud â pheirianneg a peidio byth a bod yn ofyn I gofyn cwestiynau. Dwi'n dal yn gofyn cwestiynau nawr. Dwi wedi bod yn wneud yn am tua 10 mlynedd nawr, ond ti byth yn mynd I gwybod popeth, so paid y bod yn ofyn I gofyn cwestiynau. So diolch yn fawr am eich amser, ac os o'ch hoffi cael rhagor o wybodaeth neu siarad am unrhyw beth sy'n ymwneud â pheirianneg, fyddai'n dilyn mas fy gyfriadur post, e-bost, ac dyn ni'n mynd ymlaen nawr I trosglwyddo, wel, ni wedi mynd I Commander Gavin Wedlake. Dwi'n meddwl dyn ni'n mynd ymlaen i'r cwestiynau, dych chi wedi danfon mewn. So, we're on to questions now. So, fel y gall gwelwch, mae straeon pob peiriannydd yn wahanol ac yn eigryw. Nawr gofynnwyd I chi anfon eu cwestiynau ymlaen llaw, gyda cymorth fideos byr I rhoi cyflwyniad I fi a Gavin. Rydym wedi dewis rhai o'r gorau i'w ateb I chi heddiw.
Okay, thank you very much. As you can see, the stories of each engineer are different and unique, and thank you so much for sharing them with us today. Now, we asked you to send in your questions in advance of today's interview and supported with the short videos which provided introductions to both Wing Commander Gavin Wedlake and Corporal Scott Evans, and we've picked some of the best to answer for you today. So the first question, who inspired you when you were growing up? If you want to start, Scott.
Yeah, so pwy wnaeth chi ysbrydoli pan oeddech chi'n tyfu fyny? O gefnder mas o ffeirianneg, dwi wrth fy modd efo pêl-droed, felly holl chwarae Dinas Caerdydd oedd fy idols i. I wneud â peirianneg, roedd neb yn unrhyw nes i edrych lan am ond i gwylio llawer o rhaglenni ar teledu yn lle amdano peirianneg fel sut mae awyrennau yn gweithio a sut mae pontydd yn cael ei gwneud a pethau fel hynny, really.
Okay, and Gavin, the same question to you. Who inspired you when you were growing up?
So quite a few people inspired me. The first people really who got me into sort of inspiration was my family. So I've come from a family of, I suppose, technical background and engineers. My grandfathers, one was a RAF technician after being an apprentice in the RAF. My other grandfather was a carpenter. My dad was a marine engineering officer in the Merchant Navy, and he worked for a company in Cardiff and did his apprenticeship in Wales. And throughout, that was my early stage. And then throughout my sort of, as I was growing up, I had some amazing teachers who spotted that I had a love for engineering. I had a love for trying to make things work, and numbers of teachers who inspired me right the way until I got to university. And even then, there's some really sort of amazing people who have just helped me on that journey.
Thank you. The second question, what did you want to do when you were at school?
So, beth oeddech chi eisiau wneud pan oeddech chi yn yr ysgol? Nes i eisiau bod yn diffoddwyr tan, fel fi'n meddwl bod pawb sydd yn yr ysgol eisiau bod ar un amser neu arall. Roedd cyfleoedd fel hyn heddiw, ddim o gwmpas pan oeddwn ni yn yr ysgol, ond dwi'n meddwl os byddaf nhw wedi bod o gwmpas, byddaf wedi eisiau gwneud rhywbeth gyda ffeirianneg. Rhywbeth arall, heddlu, ti'n gwybod, popeth fel mae pawb yn yr ysgol really eisiau gwneud ar amser hwnna, ond ie, dwi'n mor falch dwi wedi dewis peirianneg.
And the same question to you, Gavin. What did you want to do when you were at school?
Well, when I was at school, my original dream was going to be I wanted to play rugby. I used to love playing rugby, and I had loads of dreams to thinking I could play rugby professional. But sadly, by the age of 12, clearly that was not going to happen. But it's always been something to do with engineering, something to do with making things work, and being a PE teacher. And it wasn't until really I got to doing my A-levels that I finally sort of made the decision to, no, I really want to be an engineer and go with that way. So yes, lots of ideas, lots of sort of themes, but they all sort of converged on to the two main ones, which was either going to be a PE teacher or an engineer.
Brilliant. So the third question that we got sent in is, what do you like most about your job?
So, beth ydych chi'n ei hoffi fwyaf am eich swydd? Dwi'n hoffi'r amrywiaeth o peiriannau dwi'n gallu gweithio arno fwyaf. Dwi'n hoffi teithio gwmpas y byd a datblygu fy sgiliau trwy gweithio gyda pobl gwahanol a datblygu fy sgiliau yn peirianneg hefyd. Dwi'n chwarae pêl-droed pob dydd Mercher, so mae hwnna'n dda i fi. Jyst yn y canol wythnos, mynd mas, chwarae pêl-droed gyda fy ffrindiau. So yeah, mae hwnna'n rhywbeth dwi'n mwynhau, a mae'n cadw fi'n heini ar yr un pryd.
Brilliant. And the same question across to you, Gavin, as well. What do you like most about your job?
I love, first and foremost, I love working with people. The Royal Air Force Ministry of Defence, the government, you meet lots of varied people, lots of amazing people, and that's the first and foremost thing I really enjoy, working with people. I also really enjoy the challenge. I really enjoy being an engineer in the Royal Air Force and having to sort of be given those challenges. It is not a 9 till 5 job. We've all seen the video, but I can fully really reinforce that, you know, going out and about all around the world. You've heard Scott hear some amazing stories about the Falkland Islands and other places, you know, going across the other side of the world to places like the Middle East, into America, the Falkland Islands, and be given the challenge of actually giving a bit of equipment, given the problem and say, go, you know, take this team of engineers and do your, you know, to help us and come up with a solution. And that is so rewarding, and it's really difficult to quantify in words of how, you know, that warm smiling feeling you get when you and a team have gone out there and overcome some challenges to deliver something and actually see it making a difference.
Perfect, thank you. The next question that we got sent in is there anything about your job that you don't like?
So, oes unrhyw beth am eich swydd nad ydych yn ei hoffi? Wel, fel oedd Wing Commander Wedlake wedi taflu arno just nawr, mae'r swydd ddim yn 9 i 5. So amser I amser mae angen I ni deffro yn canol y nos I mynd mas I trwsio rhywbeth sydd ddim yn gweithio. Dwi'n hoffi fy gwely, felly mae hwn ddim yn wneud I fi mor hapus. Ond yn ffodus, mae hyn ddim yn digwydd yn aml, herwydd ni'n gweithio galed yn y dydd I sicrhau bod popeth yn gweithio fel ni eisiau trwy'r amser. So, ni'n gallu aros yn y gwely fwy.
Brilliant. And obviously the same question to you now, Gavin. Is there anything about your job that you don't like?
All jobs come with challenges and things. I suppose from my perspective and personally, and this is hopefully one children can relate to, everything, you've got to do a number of things, and the biggest thing I found is my biggest challenge is lots and lots of paperwork. Now, paperwork's always important. We need to document everything we do, certainly in the engineering world, to make sure all the health and safety and the right procedures are followed, and that's fine. But it's like everything else. It's not just about hands-on fixing things. There is also the paperwork and all the administrative work which comes along with it. Now, I wouldn't go so far as to say I don't like it, but I always find that's the sort of least liked part of my job. And but I accept, you know, there are always things you've got to do. And I think, if I'm being honest, that's the least. That's the thing I like the least. I shall say. Thank you.
Perfect. And this is one of my favourite questions that we had come in. Have you ever got into trouble in your job?
Felly, ydych chi erioed wedi bod yn ddrwg yn eich swydd? Na, dwi'n bachgen dda. Dwi byth wedi bod yn ddrwg, ond na, dwi wedi cysgu mewn un diwrnod, felly oedd fy meistr ddim yn hapus gyda fi, ond wnes I wneud cwpan o te, rhoi popeth yn iawn ar ôl hyn, so wrth gwrs, gweud sori hefyd.
And obviously the same one back to yourself, Gavin. Have you ever got into trouble in your job?
So I would be lying if I said no. Yes, there's always trouble. And the thing I will say is I've never, hopefully, never ever gone into something wanting to cause trouble, but we are all human. We all make mistakes and we all learn from our mistakes. One particular instance, which I will share, I touched on it doing the paperwork. I probably rushed a bit of paperwork when I was a junior officer, and I probably rushed it too much. It wasn't quite up to the standard, so I gave it to my boss, and I suppose a bit like at school, I got a D- and a see me after class sort of thing. And yes, my squadron leader at the time had a very good chat with me, was very honest with me about the standard of my work, and pretty much said, you know, you can do much better than that. And he was right. I was just pushed for time, and yes, I didn't give a good account of myself in that instance.
Perfect. The next question that we got in is about your favourite subjects in school. So what were your favourite subjects when you were in school?
Beth oedd eich hoff bynciau yn yr ysgol? Mathemateg, gwyddoniaeth, addysg gorfforol, dwi'n meddwl. Roedd bob amser wedi gweld mathemateg yn diddorol a mae bendant wedi fy helpu i ddod y peiriannydd dwi yn heddiw. Eto gyda gwyddoniaeth, mae'n ddiddorol i fi. Dwi wedi trio cadw lan gyda wneud gwyddoniaeth pan dwi wedi bod yn yr RAF. Ond y ddau ohonyn nhw, y hoff bynciau yn yr ysgol, ac eto addysg gorfforol, pêl-droed, hoffi pêl-droed, so pêl-droed pob wythnos yn yr ysgol hefyd.
Brilliant. And then the same question over to yourself, Gavin, too. What were your favourite subjects in school?
So I loved anything to do with science. So the three sciences, physics, biology, chemistry. I really enjoyed maths when I was at school, really enjoyed that. And I was lucky enough, we were some of the first age groups to go through. When I was at primary school, we had a computer called the BBC, and it was brilliant to do computer sciences and computer programming on that as well. And that was just really wonderful. And I'd be remiss of me to say, physical education, I really enjoyed doing PE, not just the sort of sports side, but also the learning about the sports, learning about the anatomy and physiology of the body, which I suppose is similar to biology, and also sort of teaching sports as well. So very much they were my favourite subjects.
Fantastic, thank you. Then the second to last question that we got was, what do you need to do to be able to become an engineer?
So beth sydd angen I chi ei wneud I fod yn beiriannydd? Yn sicr mae angen I chi gweithio galed. Paid â bod yn ofyn I gofyn cwestiynau am sut mae pethau'n gweithio, fel oedd I wedi dweud ymlaen, gweld rhaglenni ar y teledu neu darllen llyfr amdano pethau dydych chi falle ddim yn gwybod amdano a ddim yn gwybod sut nhw'n gweithio. Dwi'n meddwl bod darllen, jyst gweld popeth peiriannydd yn mynd I rhoi lookout I chi am beth chi'n gallu wneud yn beiriannydd.
Thank you for that one. And then the same question over to yourself, Gavin, too. What would you say people need to do if they want to become an engineer?
I think the first thing you need to do is have that passion to, understand how and why things work is the first thing I would say. Sort of as children, that was one of the things which really got me into it, was having that understanding, of not just about fixing things, but understand why things work, why things do things. And that's a really good starter, because if you can start understanding why things do that, you can understand why they work like they work, and then that helps you be able to fix them. And you can then take that forward to then start, applying technical solutions to the problems if you understand the whys and the hows of how everything in our house works. Yes, there are academics. Yes, we need to study mathematics and the sciences to sort of be able to take that forward. But from my perspective, it's having that sort of really sort of, I suppose, questions in your head about the how and the why things work the way they do.
Thank you so much for that. And the final question that we got in, a lovely question for us to end on today. What advice would you give to someone in primary school to help them?
So, pa gyngor fyddwch chi'n ei roi I rhywun yn yr ysgol gynradd i'w helpu? Mae angen I chi cael hwyl. Mae bod yn peiriannydd I fi cael hwyl o pob amser, really. Os ydych ddim yn penderfynu mynd I mewn I peiriannydd, does dim beth wrong gyda hynny. A fel dwi wedi dweud, peidiwch â fod yn ofyn os chi methu y tro cyntaf, just keep ymlaen gyda fe. Wnaeth I ddim yn gwneud popeth tro cyntaf, ond mae hyn ddim yn diwedd y byd. Daliwch ati, a byddwch yn cyrraedd yna yn y pendro.
Perfect, thank you for that. And the final, again, across the same question to yourself, Gavin, what advice would you give to someone in primary school to help them?
The advice I'd say is don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to try something. And, a lot of children I sort of talk to when you're talking about STEM and engineering is, I don't want to do it because what happens if it doesn't work? Well, it's not about things not working, certainly in primary school. It's about trying and having the fun to try things and try and make things. And sometimes it's fun to watch them fall down. So if you're trying to build bridges out of Lego and they fall down, sometimes that's really fun to watch. But try and learn, and really sort of don't be afraid to try something different. Don't be afraid to, look at the Lego instructions and think, I'm going to do something different. Use your mind to sort of try and picture a solution to the problem, picture a new challenge, picture something different. And just don't be afraid to try, because if you've got that appetite and if you've got that, you want to try do something, try it, and then we learn. If you don't try, sometimes it's really difficult to learn from the decisions we haven't made. So that would be the advice I give to children in primary school, well, any school. But just don't be afraid to try and enjoy it, and don't be afraid to let the Lego blocks fall down or things. I won't go so far to say, please don't try and take apart your mummy and daddy's stereo systems and things like that. So please don't do that or anything like that. But yeah, just try and do things and see how the enjoyment you get from trying out and building those Lego sets or trying out some kits at school. I hope that answers the question. But yeah, just please try and don't have any worries about anything not working first time.
Brilliant, thank you. I'll now hand over to Corporal Scott Evans, who will close off today's interview.
Diolch yn fawr. So diolch am ymuno ni ar gyfer y cyfweliad byw arbennig hwn. Gobeithio ni bod wedi eich ysbrydoli gyda phŵer peirianneg ac wedi rhoi rhai syniadau I chi o ba mor wych yw peirianneg. Mae'n awr I chi feddwl am eich dyluniadau i'r problemau sydd o gwmpas y byd o dydd I dydd. Allwn ni ddim aros I gweld hwn. Cofiwch mae'r dyddiad cau yn Mawrth 2020. Rydyn ni yma I helpu pob cam o'r ffordd. Felly os oes angen unrhyw beth arnoch, rhowch wybod I ni. Rydym yn ôl y prynawn yma am hanner awr wedi 1 gyda Cameron Williamson, ffermwyr vertigol, wedi lleoli yn Dundee. A phob dydd yr wythnos nesaf, fel rhan o wythnos wyddoniaeth Prydain, byddwch yn gallu gwylio cyfweliad hwn yn ogystal â'r lleill I gyd hyd yn hyn ar ein sianel YouTube. Dim ond chwilio primary engineer. So diolch yn fawr a diolch chi eto yn frys.
So thank you so much for joining us for this special live interview. We hope that we've inspired you with the power of engineering and given you some ideas of how great engineering is. It's now over to you to come up with your designs to the problems that surround us every day. We can't wait to see them. Don't forget the deadline for this year's entries is March 23rd, and we're here to help you every step of the way. So if you need anything, please just let us know. Thank you so much to our guests for giving up their time and joining us today to share their stories. We'll be back this afternoon at 1:30 with Cameron Williamson who's a vertical farmer based near Dundee, and every day next week as part of British Science Week. And you'll be able to watch this interview as well as all the other interviews so far on our YouTube channel. Just search Primary Engineer. Thank you, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye now.